Hello, you beautiful individuals. We are back again looking at Kent Hovind's Worst Debate Moments, Volume 2. Uh, we, I just, I watched part of this yesterday and just coming back to maybe finish it. Probably not though, because I'm me and I take too long to, you know, get through these stupid videos. Even though I say stupid videos, I just mean videos involving Kent Hovind. Obviously, I like Atheist Jr. a lot. He makes great videos. This is one of them. So let's just jump right into this parasite that we call Kent Hovind.
Kent, I don't know where you would ever get the idea that I had watched Aaron Ra's stuff because, here we have Aaron Ra looking for fossils, and he says they definitely count as evidence for evolution. And I would go with him any day over someone hand waving away an entire field of evidence. And, I see that you decided to disregard my warning and breach that ninth commandment in terms of Hakel, but that's fine. How's that going to work for you on Judgment Day? I guess you might not be too happy with that. So,
Oh man, that was pretty funny. Honestly, you know, if there's a God up there, out there, regardless of what version of God it may be or gods or whatever, man, I feel like Hovind's gonna have a hard time on that judgment day. I mean, he's spent his entire life, essentially, at least his adult life, lying and conning and just being a outright despicable person, using religion to try to convince people of this fraudulent claim that the Bible should be taken literally, and that essentially not just this field of science, but multiple fields of science are just useless. And it's just, it's one thing. Like you get these people, whether it's young Earth creationists or flat earthers or people that believe in dragons and or giants or you know whatever scary secret government, which I don't know why you have to. I don't know why you got to make up some secret scary government when we have a very real government that does horrible things and kind of sucks all around. But anyway, I digress. There's a this world that we live in. There are people. There are people that go through true, just utter atrocities every single day. I mean, just violence and famine, sickness, and just despicable living conditions. And instead of focusing on helping any of those people, even the ones here in this country that are out in the streets starving, that are affected by, you know, violent acts, he focuses on just trying to deny an entire field of science, lying to children, and turning them away from a field of study, not even a field of study, from an entire like career path potentially that could actually help improve the world and turn them into his ridiculous interpretation of his religion. It's just, as I've said before, it's just disgusting.
Ken, I have to ask you. So, a lot of these whale pelvises. Now, you've done extensive studies on the whale reproductive system, and you commented on that tonight. And their 15-foot penises, and that these are
I love when people just say things that clearly annoy Donnie down there. It just gets me every time. You just see his face, just man. The one video I did where like Hovind had like a little compilation of him essentially telling people, you think you're related to a whatever. Ian Chen was one of the, you know, clips in that, and in his debates, man, he gets Donnie riled up. That's pretty amazing. And don't, and just saying, James W. I know you're being facetious. Don't ever say Hovind studies things. He doesn't study things. He doesn't even study his own Bible properly. But nothing against you, James. Obviously, you were just being funny, of course.
Muscle point attachments. But some of these pelvises have ball and socket joints. So why would it need a ball and socket joint just for muscle attachments?
Maybe it has to swivel around.
But
are you married?
They're locked in position. I'm not. I'm divorced, Kent.
Okay.
We're in the same boat.
Okay.
I don't know who this James W. dude is, but man, like, just hilarious. I love it. And I don't know if you ever noticed this about Hovind. Anytime someone brings up a point about anything, essentially, he's like frantically going through slides. Like, I don't know if he's trying to find a specific one, but it seems like there's so many times I've watched these debates or like clips of debates where somebody says something and all of a sudden this screen that he has up here always like just starts flashing through slides. And it's like, most of the time it's just, I don't know if he just gives up on finding it. I don't know. I feel like someone needs to help him organize better.
Yeah.
There are trillions of fossils in the ground. Nobody is seeing them form. A lot of animals died today. There's probably 30 deer got hit on the roads out here in the last 6 months. None of them.
Oh my God. See that deer? Is that real? I'm sorry to do this, but we gotta.
Hey, there's probably 30 deer got hit on the roads out here in the last 6 months.
Oh my.
None of them are.
That deer got yeeted to space. Wow.
Going to fossilize? None. We have fossils by the trillions. They had to be buried like Noah's. Would that be evidence of Noah's flood for you, James? Is that enough evidence?
No, it wouldn't, Kent. It would be evidence of a long period of time where we know that the odds of fossilization are probably well under 1%, probably a hundredth or 1,000th of a percent. So the fact that we have billions or maybe even trillions of fossils is a testament to how long this process has been going on. It's a long time. And you could go through and you could go down to the bottom of Grand Canyon and you are hand waving away creatures that lived and existed on this earth millions of years before you did. And you're doing that so you can cling to this Bronze Age fable about, I hate to break it to you, you're not going to live forever. I'm not. We're all going to die one day. And that is terrible. But it doesn't mean it's good to engage in delusion and fantasy, pretending that doesn't apply to us.
Well, we got 13 topics going at the same time here, one at a time. The vestigial structure.
Man, he loves doing that. Anytime. For one, he is like the king of bringing up just a slew of topics all at once. But besides that, anytime somebody starts talking about something that he either doesn't know enough about or maybe just doesn't want to talk about for whatever reason, he always goes to that line. Oh, we have too many topics going on, and then he goes back to something he wants to that he was originally talking about. And see, I wonder if part of it is that he finally found his little slide that he was looking for, and so he's like, "Oh, got to jump back to this." But he really didn't. I mean, he wasn't going through that many topics. Like, essentially, he was talking about fossils the entire time. I mean, he started out with the whale part, but again, that can all tie back to fossils. I don't know. But either way, just saying, fossils definitely not evidence for Noah's flood.
Structures. Well, the fossils, okay? There is no fossil record. Somebody's putting their information, their date on them. In the movie The Green Mile, the Bible says God formed the eye. Where did time, space, matter come from? Big Bang, chemical evolution, the stellar evolution, organic evolution, microevolution. There are no transitional fossils. There is no such thing as a primitive unicellular organism. I looked up there are 20,000 different kinds of single-celled organisms. The flagellated paramecium, there. They have a little motor in their skin. We're talking a single-celled creature.
Yeah, so I just want to start off.
Just saying, like, I know that was like all like kind of cut and whatever, sped up and stuff a little bit. But that's essentially what he does when he's just spewing through topics. This guy, just saying, don't know if you've ever watched any of his stuff, but if you haven't, he's pretty awesome. Very funny and definitely knows his stuff. So go check him out. If I remember, I'll try to remember to link his, channel. Actually, okay. Sorry. I mean, for you, that was obviously instant, but for me, needed to get something so I'd remember to link his channel, because Mark Reed is pretty amazing. And of course, obviously, like I did last video, I will link this video again and, have a tag for AJ's channel as well.
Off by pointing out that before the discussion we kind of agreed on 2 to 3 topics, because Kent complained that too many topics would, he couldn't follow them, he couldn't get up to them. Now I just want to point out the dishonesty of somebody going through movies, Common Designer, Amoebas, Darwin's Thing, Chimps and Humans, Variations Genetic Code, Demonstrating Limits, Chance. Then he went on to the eye and how that came about, the universe, chemical evolution, cosmological evolution, stellar evolution, organic evolution, macroevolution, phylogenetic tree, the primitive unicellular organisms, kinds of bacteria and amoebas, biological motors. Now, this is not 2 to 3 topics, and for somebody that sits there and says, well, no, I can't handle too many, this is a scattershot. And so I just want to point out the dishonesty of that.
And it's what he does every time. Like, it's his thing. I mean, Mark there said it perfectly. Like, it's a scattershot of topics. He just throws a bunch of things against the wall, hopes something sticks. But then if anybody else, God forbid, not even goes off topic from what they were talking about, but just like even a subtopic of it, or, just kind of just veers off like a tiny little bit, like just goes into the next lane. Oh man, throws a whole hissy fit about it.
And the Green Miles movie, Kent, it's not real, mate. It's not real. This is a Gish Gallop again. You're basically throwing out thing after thing after thing after thing, so I can't respond. So I'll grab the time it takes to respond to each and every single one of these. There are things that we can test. There's experiments that we can do. It absolutely is science, and that was actually determined in a court of law. And I'm sure you're familiar with court of law, Kent.
Oh man, I remember that debate. That was man, Hovind. If you ever debate him, just bring up anything that has to do with the court of law or his arrest record. He's not a fan. Gets him a little butthurt, that's for sure.
Emotional damage.
ID, intelligent design, is not a science, while evolution absolutely is. Well, I want to ask you. And you've already admitted that we do see animals changing over time. A dog breeder will change dogs over time. That is something that we all see, and you're not even disputing it, and I understand that. But first, where is the physical mechanism, and can you demonstrate the physical mechanism for putting a limit on change? You can point to papers, you can point to research, you can provide your own research, but because a cow jumping over a moon, we know that in physics there is a physical limiter to how much muscle mass you can get, how high that you can translate that energy into. There's a lot of physical limits that we can absolutely describe using physics and other scientific means. But where is your limit? Where do you have any physical limit that you can demonstrate in the scientific field to the limits that you're claiming exists on evolution? And that you think microevolution turns into macroevolution?
Well, you've given about 12 topics here. You're doing the Gish Gallop and accusing me of it.
You brought it up.
The variation.
Like, what are you on about? He's replying to one of your many topics, and he stuck with it. Like, the only thing I guess is in the beginning, kind of, when he talked about all your topics, and then he sort of went on to say how, about the movie, not being real in your court thing, but it's still, no, he stuck to his topic. Like once he got to his actual question that he was forming for you, he stuck with it. I don't understand how Hovind doesn't see the hypocrisy here. And all this is just the thing that bugs me the most, I guess. Well, I mean, a lot of it bugs me. I don't even know. I can't say the most. But if evolution is not real according to him, and so he had all these animals on a boat or an ark, whatever. But we clearly have way more, animals and stuff living today than would have been alive on that ark. So how is that not evolution there? I mean, obviously that would be like an insanely fast version of evolution, but it's still evolution. And I mean, so I just don't get. I just wish I knew, like, maybe not knew, but wish I understood better what Hovind really believes. Honestly, sometimes I question whether he actually believes this nonsense he's saying, or if he's just doing it at this point for the money and clout and stuff.
That we see, you asked are there limits? What are the physical limits? Well, first of all, you got a great barrier going from a single-celled anything to multicellular. Where are the two-celled creatures in the world today? Not a colony, but a two-celled creature, or three-celled, or four-celled. I agree they can colonize and work together to do things.
Wait, what is he talking about? Now, obviously, as I've said, I am not an expert in anything. I'm an idiot. But I'm fairly certain that, like, bicellular and multicellular organisms are a thing. Right? Am I wrong on this? I feel like I clearly remember that. Like, it's, there's single-celled organisms, there's bicellular organisms, and multicellular organisms for anything more than two cells. I'm pretty sure Hovind's just, like, more than wrong on that, but I feel like that's pretty basic, right?
But that's not a single individual. We don't see it happening. We see a lot of single-celled creatures, 20,000 different kinds, which you guys all believe came from a dot of near nothing or nothing exploding, a singularity, rapidly expanding. I think you don't have a good theory that goes back to zero. I do. God created everything in 6 days.
It's not a theory. It's just not. It's just it's just a book of fairy tales that people thousands of years ago wrote to somewhat make sense of the world and universe around them. They didn't know. I mean, they did the best they could with what they had. But it's not a theory. It's not how a theory works at all. And when it comes to scientific terms.
That by faith, and I'm not demanding that be taught to all the kids in school. You guys take by faith it all came from a dot and want that taught in school. So the limits.
Yeah, we want scientific theories taught in school. So then people can go on, study more, add to it, and build upon that theory to make it something that we better understand than we do now. It's not perfect at all. It isn't. The theory of evolution, the Big Bang theory, all that it's not perfect. Even the theory of gravity it's not perfect. It started with, Isaac Newton and the whole Apple thing. I mean, not really, but that whole cliche thing. And then he did a very good job, came up with the formula, but it took until Einstein coming around to come up with relativity to better understand it. And one day in the future, we're going to have another, great, kind of not leap forward, but something that builds upon it that helps us better understand it even more. I mean, obviously it all happens in small increments, but, there does tend to be somebody that comes along and it just clicks for him, and we can more rapidly build upon that and better our understanding. But your book doesn't do that. Your book has said the same thing essentially for its entire existence, except for when it's been mended and reinterpreted and translated to, fit society today a little better, or of the day that it was. But still, it doesn't change. It doesn't better our understanding of anything like science does. And that's what your main issue is that you just are stuck in this rut of stupidity, and you refuse to grow intellectually and try to not only learn anything but try to better the world in any way, shape, or form. I mean, you don't have to do it with science. There's plenty of people that use religion to better the world. They actually help people in need, and that's great. But what you do is hurting the world.
That we see, your first barrier is getting from non-living material to living material. First of all, getting matter from anywhere. Where'd matter come from? That's a limit. Okay, how do you explain that? How did this matter come alive? There's a limit. Do it again in the laboratory. I want to watch it happen this time. Where do you get the idea that these?
But they have, I mean, obviously he's more talking about from the beginning of the universe thing, but they have kind of done things with that in the Hadron Collider. And then when it comes to organisms like coming alive, there's plenty of experiments and research done, with origin of life, abiogenesis, that has produced essentially, a living organism from, as he would say, nothing, but from a non-living molecules and stuff. Like we do this. Science does this. You just don't believe it because you're an idiot.
Similarities, the only way it can be interpreted is common ancestor. Why couldn't the genetic similarities be common designer? Same guy wrote the code. What is wrong with that theory, Mark?
All right, so I just want to point out that you didn't address my question at all on the limits of where this exists. You talked about, and I didn't Gish Gallop, every single topic bar one question was brought up by you, Kent, and only because you started talking about limits. So every single point of the last statement was addressing what you said. You Gish Galloped and I had to address them all. That's not me. If you don't want me to talk about excess topics, stop bringing them up.
Do you believe over a quad?
Yeah, and like, oh my God, this dude. I mean, you didn't provide any limits. Your limits were just essentially questioning theories. And then you completely changed the topic by asking him, like, you're just such a pathetic man-child, Kent. Man, I just wish you would grow up a little bit, honestly, and stop embarrassing yourself. Let's see. Mark Drysdale. Never heard of this guy.
Quadrillions of years, an amoeba will
I'm sorry if I said your name wrong. Probably did.
turn into a whale.
Quadrillions of years? Where's quadrillions of years coming from? Kent, you're an educator. Come on, man. We've got 13.7.
I mean, he's not an educator. He lied to a bunch of children in a church. Didn't educate anyone. He can't even educate himself properly on his own frickin' Bible.
Educate you. Come on, man.
Don't be doing that. Come on, man.
You don't do it by being silly. Quadrillions of years. We got 13.7 billion years and that we're dealing with. We got 4.5 billion years on Earth. After about 300 or 400 million years, yes, we started to get single-celled animals, not quadrillion. We're not even talking numbers like that.
I'm just pointing out that I will give you all the time you want. Now go back to the question. You fill in the time. Did an amoeba turn to a whale? And you fill out, did it turn to a whale at all? And you tell me how much time.
Dude, his thing with this amoeba, like, it drives me nuts. Nobody says amoeba, man. Like, I swear he's seen it in one book where, like, it showed one of these kind of things, but obviously a little more complex with the tree of life, and there was an amoeba somewhere in it, and he just goes, oh, that was the beginning, which it wasn't at all. And again, nobody says that these single-celled organisms, these protists, whatever, turned into that animal. It's not like just one day you had, oh, this single-cell organism, next day you had a whale or a tree or a human or whatever. These are very gradual changes over a vast amount of time. It's just like flat earthers with their trouble of understanding the scale of how the size of the planet, the solar system, the universe in general. He just struggles with the scale of time. Again, because he's a small-minded, pathetic moron.
Time it took.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. No amoeba ever turned into a whale. And then you hold up your hand like you've won some kind of battle. Who would ever say that?
Man, I like this guy. He doesn't let anything go or whatever. He's just calling him on all his crap. Good on you, Mark.
Do you ever hear an evolutionist say, look, Kent, we came from this bird? No, we say that we came from apes, chimpanzees. We don't do ridiculous things like that. Now you want to go back and start tracing mammals back through where we divided off with rodents and stuff like that. Sure, but this isn't something that there's one or two lines. There's millions of lines, Ken, and there's dead ends where animals just did not make it. The environment changed too much, or we had a catastrophe that just wiped them out and allowed another animal to live on. So no.
Yeah, not according to Kent, though. Apparently to him, everything got on this magic boat.
No amoeba turned into any massive mammal. No, not even close. It's just a complete misunderstanding. If you read that in a textbook, I'm telling you, get that textbook off the shelf.
Where is the evidence of an amoeba ever producing anything other than an amoeba? Amoebas have a very short generation time.
That's not what evolution says, you idiots. It's just the same thing. One of these days, I'm going to find a video where he says something completely... No, I won't. That's not true, obviously. He's always going to say the same stupid thing.
They get born, grow up, get married, and have kids in about, 20 or 30 minutes, some of them. So you could raise thousands of generations, tens of thousands, in one human lifetime. Has any scientist ever seen an amoeba produce a non-amoeba? Mark?
Well, I'm going to tell you one thing for sure, Ken. I don't think you've ever seen an amoeba grow up and get married and breed with another amoeba. So we're just going to pretend you didn't even say that. That is the most embarrassing thing I think I've ever heard somebody say. We're going to leave that alone. So
I freaking love this dude.
Ken thinks that amoebas breed with each other and have babies. So, but let's take black skin, for example. Ken, where do we find people with black skin?
I have actually never seen a black man. I've seen...
Okay, come on, Hovind. You're the one... You just said this crap about an amoeba getting married and having children, but you're going to be pedantic about him. Like, you know what he meant, you muppet.
You know what I'm talking about, Ken. What we consider a black-skinned person.
I've never seen a white man, Mark. This is white. I'm not white. You're not white. I've never seen a white man, never seen a black man. I've seen all different shades of brown. Some pretty dark, some pretty light. So I think those living near the equator or those exposed to a lot of sunshine, those with darker skin seem to be protected more from skin cancer and problems with that. So they probably would survive better. It might be a case of natural selection, selecting darker skin to survive in some climates and lighter skin to survive in other climates. But again, I don't know that that could be proven. That could be theorized. So yes, I believe all.
For one, it is called the evolution theory. But more importantly, you just openly admitted the natural selection thing. So I don't... What do you believe? Why are you so... Why are you you? Oh my God. Anyway, how much more do we have of this particular guy? This video is already getting way too long. That's not even including the parts I still need to cut out. Okay. Anyway, we're going to stop right here. I think I will come back to this again tomorrow, maybe. Who knows? Or maybe not at all. I'm not sure, but anyway. Thanks for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell for the ring-a-ling-ding thing, and until next time.